Welcome to the Boston Bros Political Podcast. I am Jim Campanini, co-host of the show, with my good friend and Boston Herald political columnist, Peter Lucas. Peter, how are you doing today?
I'm on my mark. I'm ready to go.
Beautiful. This podcast is coming to you from InsideLowell Studios in beautiful downtown Lowell. Teddy Painus is our producer. He's in the corner. Teddy, how are you this morning?
Fantastic. Good morning, guys.
Beautiful. Peter, a lot has happened since our last show.
Listen, we need about three more guys on this show to cover it.
Oh, it's been incredible. But I just love, I retired in 2018, and I just love waking up in the morning now and just channeling the different stations, looking at the newspapers, everything. The whole world is going wacky. It's amazing.
You can't keep up with it.
No, but the first thing I want to talk to you about is the Karen Reed, the second Karen Reed trial. Okay, she's been charged with second-degree manslaughter, and now we've concluded the trial. We're waiting for the closing arguments. Okay,
and then the verdict,
and then the verdict. So, how do you see this going?
Well, initially, I thought that everybody was so drunk that nobody knew what happened or what they did or what their story was. But as the trial has progressed, I think the defense has done a remarkable job, and I'm inclined to think that reasonable doubt will prevail and she could get off.
Yes. Well, I said it after the first trial. I didn't think that there could be a conviction with what was presented. And I just want to say that I kept an open mind in the second trial. I just think the prosecution failed to add more clarity or advance the case from the first trial. And the people who appeared for the defense, the expert witnesses, were so much more compelling and detailed in their analysis. I don't know how a jury can convict. And a point that you made earlier, I mean, the scratches on the arm, it did not come from a car.
There were more than scratches. There were bites.
Yeah.
There were bites.
Yeah.
Dog bites.
So unless someone bit Mr. O'Keefe, the deceased police officer and boyfriend of Karen Reed, unless someone bit him in the bar, which no one saw previously before they went to the house, I don't know how they convict Karen Reed. So this could go to the jury today. Maybe they'll hold it over the weekend, but we should have resolution by our next show. So I'm saying, I think I really do think that the jury has to go for the defense in this case.
I think that the prosecution did a better job in the first trial than they did in the second. And by the same token, the defense in the second trial did a better job than in the first trial.
It's just unfortunate. A person lost their life, and nobody seems to know exactly what really happened. And sometimes these things, for some reason, I think the investigation got off to a really bad start initially, and the way snowstorms, plow drivers, dog carpeting, everything. So broken taillight.
Well, Dateline will have a hell of another program on it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, there'll be a couple of books written about it too. So, okay, moving on to your favorite judge.
Judge Shelley Joseph.
Yes, that also has concluded the hearing into her conduct and what's
her hearing into her alleged misconduct.
Yes.
By letting the illegal immigrant out the back door of the courthouse at the Newton District Court in 2018.
And just following this and what's been written in the newspaper, and it's become clear now because the attorney for the illegal immigrant who was let out the back door, he has an immunity agreement now. He's actually got immunity from the federal government, and he's telling his side of the story, and he's sticking to it.
Right, but first you got to understand that no criminal charges. She doesn't face any criminal charges. Right. Those were dropped when Joe Biden became elected. But now she can face disciplinary actions, and they could recommend that she be removed. There's been some misunderstanding in the media that the legislature can remove a judge in Massachusetts which is inaccurate. Only the governor's council, which appoints judges, can remove a judge. And that hasn't happened in Massachusetts in almost 50 years. So the commission that is hearing her case could make that recommendation, but they cannot remove her. That has to go to the governor's council.
But, and I'm going to let you recount this, but even Judge Joseph's recollection of what transpired, there was like a 52-second sidebar, which she turned off the recording, which is unusual.
Which she wasn't supposed to do.
Which she wasn't supposed to do. And she invited the defense attorney up there, or the representative for the illegal immigrant, and then also the DAs, the person prosecuting from the DA's office, and even the DA was astounded that she turned it off and stuff. But she said, "Oh, she had no idea what the defense attorney was going to do. That he was going to lead him out that side door and downstairs," which doesn't sound.
That is in dispute.
Yeah,
and that is hard to believe that the judge would turn off the recording and not allow that to be part of the record. It seems to me they turned off the recording so that she could allow the guy out the back door while ICE was waiting out the front door to scoop him up.
Yeah, and overall, she did not follow protocol anyway. I mean, here is another law enforcement agency waiting to detain this person, and she basically told him, wait outside the courtroom, wouldn't even allow the federal officer into the courtroom, which I mean, that seems odd too. I mean,
Jim, I also found it interesting that Governor Maura Healey and Boston Mayor Michelle Wu, who supported her action back in 2018 and 2019, neither one showed up to testify on her behalf.
Yeah, I think they know that this is a sinking ship, and Judge Joseph, unfortunately, I don't think can be believed, especially in her explanation of what she did. I think she was just following the wave, put the finger up in the air, and thought that she was going to become a hero for this progressive activist group and be the judge of the week.
The problem was she was a very new judge. She'd only been appointed in 2017 by Governor Charlie Baker, who later, said that she should not sit in any more cases after this story broke. And perhaps she was just untrained to be a judge. And when I watch her actions, I think she would have been much better off and said, look, I made a mistake. And I'm sorry I made that mistake. It won't happen again.
She should have been in traffic court. Peter, okay. Now, and the other thing is that this illegal immigrant, he had been deported before.
Yes, he had.
So he had a record, and she knew it, and she just released him on no bail. I didn't even put an electric monitor on him or anything. I mean, come on. It was ridiculous from the get-go, all right? In her decision making was very, very poor, and she didn't serve the citizenry of Massachusetts.
No, it was backdoor justice.
Yeah. So anyway, that should be decided. Like you said, the commission now has 30 days to write a report.
Yes.
Okay.
And they will write a report to the Supreme Judicial Court, which can discipline her, but the Supreme Court cannot remove her. They may make life uncomfortable for her and have her resign, but they can't remove her. That has to go to the Governor's Council.
Yeah. Okay. So we're moving on from that. We'll have to watch and see what happens, but it does not look good for Judge Joseph at this point. Now, Peter, another interesting thing that that happened and really didn't get that much play locally, was the resolution in the House condemning the fiery attack on Jewish protesters in Boulder, Colorado. A real nut job has been arrested in that case. He was throwing Molotov cocktails at these people who were trying to have a peaceful demonstration. They were walking down the street, and it was really peaceful. Not one of these Columbia demonstrations.
Elderly Jewish Americans protesting the hostage taken by Hamas.
Yes. So there was a real chance for bipartisanship in the U.S. House of Representatives. A proclamation was said to support these protesters and to condemn violence against Jews. And the only thing is, the proclamation also praised how the reaction of the local law enforcement and federal law enforcement, how they responded and brought order and got this wacko right away. Well, many liberal Democrats, there was 113 voted against it, the proclamation, and they cited that as the case that it was a political proclamation. They were against it because it defended law enforcement.
Jim, I think 113 Democrats voted for it. It still was defeated.
Yes. Oh, 113 Democrats voted against it. It passed. But 113 Democrats voted against the proclamation, citing that it was politicized. Well, anything that you do in Washington could be said politicized. Even legislation that passes overwhelming from bipartisanship, it's politicized. Okay, I mean, I just can't believe. 280 to 113 vote. Okay, so it passed 280 to 113, but all 113 negative votes came from the Democrat Party. And everyone in the Massachusetts delegation basically voted against it, except our own congresswoman from the Lowell area, Lori Trahan. She did not vote at all, period, on the proclamation. So still don't know whether she was available for the vote, or she just tried to play it in the middle, or what.
The three congressmen in Massachusetts who voted to support the resolution were, excuse me, I think I got them written here. Oh, excuse me, the three who voted against the resolution, put it that way, were Ayanna Pressley, Catherine Clark, and Jim McGovern of Worcester. The rest of the delegation voted for it.
Oh, okay. So I stand corrected. I'm sorry. I said that all of the Mass delegation, except for Lori Trahan, who did not vote, went against the proclamation. So I stand corrected. There were three who voted against it. That seems to be the same cabal, right? They vote together on most of these. Well,
usually all 9 members of the delegation vote the same way.
Yes.
This is the first time I can remember that they split. Which to me is indicative of the split of the party nationally. And now you can see how the party is split locally.
Yeah.
But I'm astonished that even 3 would vote, against the resolution condemning the attack. I mean, that's a pretty simple vote.
Right. And there was another proclamation that passed overwhelmingly, 413 to 0, and that was also billed as a bipartisan effort. It had co-signers on both sides of the aisle, and basically what they did was they took out that passage praising the response of law enforcement, so everybody could vote for that. Okay, and that one passed. So they condemned violence against Jews, but you see what's happening in the country. I mean, you can't stick up for law enforcement. Law enforcement didn't do anything really except capture this guy before he could do more harm, and yet you couldn't basically approve of the actions? Isn't that what law enforcement is supposed to do? I mean, it's really sad what's happening in this country, and they want to move this issue forward. I mean, just come together. And don't they always seek around election time the support of the police unions and the law enforcement unions and everything? I mean, they're the first ones to trump out a press release when they get local, XYZ to support them and stuff.
Listen, under 4 years of Joe Biden, nobody was held accountable for anything. You had riots all over the place, even in downtown Boston, MLB, and nobody was arrested or prosecuted, put it that way. And people got used to a lack of accountability under Joe Biden, thinking they could get away with anything. And they did get away with everything. And now the same people think they conduct their behavior the same way under Donald Trump. He's proven them wrong. And L.A. right now is a classic example.
Yeah, let's talk a little about that. I mean, even, but the closing the book on that legislation from the House. I mean, even if you're a Massachusetts resident, and I don't care what your political affiliation is, it was a cut and dried resolution. I mean, you know what's good about local police departments? You know those people who work for it. Most of them, sometimes they live in your neighborhood and stuff. You're going to support them. They face a potential bullet every day for you. They protect their kids going to school, and stuff. I just don't know how we've become so divided that you can't basically say, "Hey, I'm against this harassment and violence against Jews, and I support our police who try to enforce the laws and capture these deranged individuals who are doing these things." But here we are in Congress. They're supposed to be representing us, and they're supposed to be smart people, and they can't even get together on a simple proclamation.
No,
it's
at least we had a handful of congressmen from Massachusetts voting for it.
Yes, yes. Thank God on that. But turning to the L.A. riots, Peter, what do you take with this this Governor Newsom being slow to react? Mayor Bass from L.A. I mean, she's never around. It seems when there's a crisis in L.A. She's either in Antigua or Bermuda or something on a vacation. It was fortunate she was home, but she didn't put her head out the window.
I think the rioters need Greta Thunberg.
Oh well, you stole my thunder.
A real leader.
Oh man. Well, yeah. So
you can take off on that, Jim.
Okay. So yeah, I wanted to talk about Greta because the poor girl. I mean, she took the world by storm when she dropped out of school to become an environmental activist. Okay. I mean, first of all, that's like an oxymoron. You drop out of school. You're 13 years old. She was, I think, 19 when she dropped out of school. I don't know why she was still in school at 19 to become this professional activist, okay, for climate change. She didn't even know about the world at that point, but she did it. Now, and at least, anytime she can get a headline, she does it. But she led this flotilla. It was really one ship. They had 3 boxes of cereal on it, I think, and they were going to go to bring food to Gaza. Okay, so she thought that this little ship with her 13 other celebrities, and they were taking selfies every day, okay, of themselves on the boat. And the thing I told you, Peter, what got me is, I was following this flotilla as it left Europe and made its way down the Mediterranean. They had the same clothes on every day, the same T-shirts, so they didn't wash up and stuff. And then, the Israeli military naval forces have had a blockade against any ships entering Gaza for 5 years. No one's gotten through, not even a minnow. Okay, and she thought this ship that was being followed by all photographers and news organizations from Europe was going to make it through the blockade. Well, okay. So there's the hype. They get stopped. She says, oh, she was handcuffed and let out. And then they wanted her, the Israeli Navy, to watch videos of what happened on October 7th. Okay. And she says, oh, they were going to show us propaganda. The videos were shot by Hamas. There were videos from Hamas's treachery, brutality, raping people, killing people. Okay, and she blamed the Israelis. Oh, there was propaganda and stuff, like the Israelis made up the videos and stuff. I mean, this girl has overdone her.
That's why they needed her in L.A.
But
she could have broken through that
well, I don't know if you do.
She would have potted right through those, National Guard troops.
The best headline I saw in this story came from the Babylon Bee. It's the satirical.
Right. Yeah.
It comes out once a week. They look at all the news and they make these. They make these headlines up, satirical headlines. The best one was Hamas agrees to surrender if Europe takes back Greta Thunberg. That was the best headline of the week. And sure enough, the Israelis put her on a plane, flew her back to Sweden. Now, how do I close this story?
I don't know.
Okay. So here's Greta Thunberg. She's now 22 years old. She seems... She looks homeless, but anyway, what has Sweden done in the years that Greta Thunberg has been leading the charge? She was named Time's Person of the Year as an environmental activist. They've turned back the fossil fuels. And most of Europe has turned back the fossil fuels. They've realized, we need renewable energy. We need other things. But you know what? It's not going to happen overnight. And all this other, this push to phase in overnight, all this stuff, zero carbon emissions and everything, was fruitless. You can't do it. Okay? So, Greta, stay home. Read a book. Go to L.A. All right. Anything else to add on that?
No, you did it. You did it.
Hey,
you got it.
Hey, now the other thing was you wrote a great column on former Vice President Kamala Harris in yesterday's newspaper talking about her future. But I love the way she was Vice President, Senator of California, the Attorney General of California, and now you're saying she can be a CNN, columnist.
Sure, she could have done a stand-up up there, standing in front of cars being burned and commenting on how it was a peaceful demonstration, just like CNN reported way back in 2021, 22, when they had the riots in Minnesota, and the reporter was standing in front of a CNN reporter in front of a burning building and saying this was a peaceful demonstration. Same thing.
Notice how, except for Fox News, none of the other major newscasts went and talked to the store owners and the residents whose places had been either looted or burned.
Right.
None of them went. And they denied, it was all peaceful. Even the governor, who he was in Sacramento, and then he comes out and he can see the guy standing on the taxi cabs there, the unmanned taxi cabs. 6 of them were burned, and LA was proud to have them because
guys waving the Mexican
flag, and the cars are burning and the black smoke is coming up and the people are throwing bricks off the highway at civilians, let alone police officers. And okay, maybe at that point it was still small, but even the local police chief says we were being overwhelmed.
Right.
And Trump calls Newsom on Saturday and talks to him.
And
says,
Newsom said he didn't call.
Yeah. And Trump tells him, get it under control.
Right.
Or I'm going to send in the federal troops. And Newsom says, it's all under control. Nothing's happening. It's peaceful. Right. Well, maybe that is peaceful to L.A., that there's only a few blocks burned down, because it's happened so many times, going back to Watts. So they equate things differently as opposed to, being elsewhere, I guess. But it was incredible. You could see the images on TV. And yet all these elite organizations, news organizations, where were the cameras shooting? At the birds? I mean, were they at the Los Angeles Dodgers game or something? I mean, so my point to you, Peter, is, see, this is why people check out on the news. They don't even
Oh,
watch it
absolutely.
anymore.
Oh, I
They don't
agree.
read it because they see an image and they say, how can you not mistrust your eyes? Your eyes tell you the truth.
The Democrats have lost their mind. They're telling people what they didn't see. People can see riots. They can see violent action. They can see demonstrators throwing Molotov cocktails. They can see the Mexican flag being waved. And Democrats are saying, oh, nothing's happening here. Nothing's happening here. There's no riot. This is all peaceful. It's incredible. They've lost their mind. They've lost their mind.
Well, the Haystack Observatory in Westford, okay, that can see things that are happening in the Milky Way, which is like, hundreds of light years away. And yet a CNN cameraman can't see what's 10 yards in front of him.
Right.
Someone throwing bricks off a highway at people driving cars and throwing Molotov cocktails around. I mean, it defies logic. So
To add to the misery of Governor Gavin Newsom is Trump a couple of days ago signed new regulations limiting the number of going against California's anti-gas emissions.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yes.
Well,
yeah. So, but then our own governor, Maura Healey, the story comes out. She says she stands with Governor Newsom. That Newsom now has filed suits against Trump for sending in federal troops, the Marines, and even calling in the National Guard, which he has the right to do. And I'm saying to myself, God forbid. We did have terrible riots in Massachusetts after the George Floyd incident, and they burned down. You even mentioned that, and I think one of your columns, Newbury Street.
Right, they shut down Newbury Street in 2022.
Yeah. And God forbid it spread down into and more people were harmed and even died or something. She would need help.
She was Attorney General then, and in that riot, 9 cops were hospitalized. They arrested 50 people. Newbury Street in downtown Boston was boarded up for weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
And
there was millions of dollars of damage and stuff.
She and Governor Baker at the time acted as though nothing happened.
Yeah.
It was amazing. That's when she was asked about it. You could still smell the smoke weeks afterwards in downtown Boston from the burning of storefronts down there. And remember, her quote was, "Yes, cities are burning, but that's how forests grow."
Well, it's just
L.A. has been burning down ever since.
But here's the president he calls offering help, and Gavin Newsom is going to be, indignant about the whole situation. Don't tell me how to run California. Well, California is still a state in the union, and here's the president, because if he didn't call, they would have been giving him meaning Trump, they would have given him a lot of flack. As it is, Newsom lied about the phone call, okay?
Right.
And Trump had it right on his phone. He showed it to the reporters in the White House.
Let me ask you a question. Do you remember when the last time the governor called out the National Guard in Massachusetts?
The Great Molasses.
No, it wasn't that long ago. She called out the National Guard to help illegal immigrants.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
She helped. They provided illegal immigrants with protection, with security, with transportation, etc. They're probably still doing it, for all I know. That's the last time the National Guard was called out to help.
Yeah. And then overlooked in all this, what incited the riots? Well, because ICE was in L.A., and they were grabbing gangbangers off the street, and they put out the photos of these illegal immigrants and convicts. Once again, it's the same litany. Murderers. They were convicted in their own country. They had been deported. Some of them 2-3 times before previously. They set up fentanyl operations in America. I mean, oh, okay, you know what? One slips through the crack. Maybe there is someone innocent. Yes, I agree. You know, they got to do due diligence, and if they do make a mistake, they got to release that person, okay, or let them face due process. But if they're in this country illegally, they've broken the law.
The Democrats are in favor of protecting criminal, illegal immigrants, murderers,
It's just getting
rapists, and so on. It is just amazing how far that party is dropped
It's
in the
just,
eyes of the public.
It's just getting sickening that they should be working together. You know, if I was a Democrat in Congress, I'd go to the president and say, listen, okay, calling a truce here. All right, let's resolve this situation, but let's start working on an immigration bill, a sane immigration bill, whether have to give some people asylum, because they're not all lawbreakers, okay? But let's resolve this issue for the best interests of America, okay? And why doesn't anybody pick up the phone? And Trump said, you know, Trump listens to everybody and say, you know what? Okay, you guys back off. Let's get the scum out of the country, meaning the ones who are convicts, pedophiles, sexual assault, murder, burglary, arson, everything else. Get them out of the country. I think there's a common ground to be found here.
The Democrats have no leader capable of doing that. Who do they have? Governor Hochul in New York?
No.
Governor Pritzker in Illinois?
Every time I see him on TV, I don't know.
Governor Walz of Minnesota?
Because, you know, you look at these people on TV and
It's a clown show.
yeah, and you say to yourself, this is America. You want America to succeed. I want America to succeed. I mean, I just want these people to show some intelligence and work together, but it's not happening. It's very frustrating. It's very depressing. It really is. It wasn't always this way, but it seems instead of getting better, it's just getting worse. It's all about politics and who's going to win the next congressional elections.
Maybe we should bring back a king,
Yeah.
King George,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
because
King
this
George.
weekend is no king demonstration. That's the country.
And is that aimed at Donald Trump too?
Yeah, they say he's a king. So, you know.
Man, no, it's just unbelievable.
Well, the Republicans should counter demonstrate and say no queen either.
So before I turned in last night, the last thing I heard on the radio was that the bulletin that the Israelis had bombed the nuclear facilities in Iran, because it had been reported that Iran has now produced enough uranium, enriched
make a
uranium,
bomb.
to make a bomb. And, you know, and this is another classic example. Trump, a month ago, warned Iran, come back to the table, and let's make a deal because, quote, things are going to be bad for you if you don't. Okay? I mean, he told the world that. Okay, and here's Iran basically jerked America around, refused to come back to the table and stuff. Well, Israel attacks them. They take out 3 Revolutionary Guard leaders, okay, one of them who was in charge of the nuclear enrichment program last night. And they damaged, I think, 4 or 5 facilities, including the one where the uranium was being processed. So then Iran launches retaliatory strikes that occurred this morning. But Netanyahu says, hey, we're going to take this as far as we can, but there's no way they're going to get a nuclear weapon.
Well, here, with good reason.
Yeah.
I mean, Iran says their first bomb, if they had a nuclear weapon, would be used on Israel, and the second would be used on the United States. I mean, is that pretty
Is that
clear?
a threat or what? Yeah.
You know?
So
The Iranians are acting as though Joe Biden and John Kerry were still in charge, you know, and that they could get away with anything.
Well-
those days are over.
Well, you know what? The world is losing its mind. And okay, I can see, you know, if you're going to spread terrorism, okay, I think you have to understand that at some point it's not working the way you're doing it. Okay, and Iran Even there's unrest among the people there. I'm just surprised there hasn't been another uprising. And
The Iranian people are fine people. They've had a civilization there for 2,000 years. The Iranian people are unfortunately suffering under these crazy mullahs who control the country, and that is the problem. If you got rid of the Iranian fanatical religious leadership, you would have a different type of Iran.
yeah, no, I agree with you. So maybe this will push it over the edge because the Iranian people, I don't know how they put up with this regime who just full of hatred, and I mean they're being oppressed every day, and they should get back into the mainstream with the rest of the world. So, okay, so. Oh, okay. So you said that you had a talk with Republican gubernatorial candidate Brian Shortsleeve.
Yeah, I did.
How'd that go?
We had coffee the other morning. I'll be doing a column on him that'll run on Saturday, tomorrow. And actually, I was kind of impressed with him. Brian Shortsleeve, 52 years old, a Marine Corps veteran who served in Afghanistan. And he comes across as a candidate who makes a lot of sense. He wants to bring Marine Corps values into state government. In other words, responsibility, accountability, and so on. He's been able to raise money. His campaign is going along pretty good. And he's opposed in the primary by the fellow from Lexington,
Keneally,
Mike Keneally. And so they'll have a fight at the convention. But Shortsleeve said he's going to take it all the way to the primary. And he thinks that if he can get by the primary, win the primary, he could give Maura Healey a pretty good fight because he's a conservative, moderate, down-to-earth, common-sense candidate.
Yeah.
And what I liked about him was that even though he voted for Trump, he's no drumbeater for Trump. However, he can work with Trump, unlike Governor Healey, because he's patenting his candidacy after Governor Whitmer of Michigan, Governor of
Whitmer, Michigan.
Whitmer, Michigan, and who is a Trump critic, although made an accommodation with Trump that has helped her state. And he thinks he can do the same thing with Trump in Massachusetts. So,
Well, it'll be interesting. We'll have to see what's your column. Peter Lucas's column appears 3 times a week in the Boston Herald, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturday. It's one of the best written in New England.
Thank you,
okay?
Jim. Thank you.
And always. He's got his own opinion puts in it, but it's fact-based, I tell you. And it's a great read because Peter understands the history. He's been covering politics for over 50 years, and I love it when you bring in some of those things that have happened in the past and really educate and insightful. So I'm gonna. I'm gonna leave you with this, okay?
Right.
In the past week, Sly Stone, the leader of Sly and the Family Stone, passed away.
Sure.
And I remember going back to my youth. There was Ute. There was back to my youth in the late 60s, 70s, and even into the 80s. You couldn't go to a wedding back then wearing your Nehru jacket or whatever. That's really going back, without hearing a Sly and the Family Stone, a song, at the dance, at the wedding. And they had it big for like 4 or 5 years till things went south for Sly. But he was a great songer. But the interesting thing about Sly Stone, reading his obituary, he was one of the first civil rights activists, but he wasn't one of these, he didn't exhort violence. It was one of the Sly and the Family Stone was one of the first integrated bands, black bands that had white musicians, white singers, and he had his brother and his sister in the band and everything. And when they went to the hotels in the segregated South, he made sure that they all stayed together. Okay, if they couldn't get into the hotel, they'd stay at a mobile home park. But he was adamant about it. And I just want to say there was one of his songs, "Are You Ready?" And this would be good for these activists today who really, I think, driving a wedge between the American people, making a point about this diversity, but they're looking at it through a biased lens and stuff. And if you remember this song, "Are You Ready?" It says, Sly wrote these words in his song: "Don't hate the black, don't hate the white. If you get bitten, just hate the bite."
Hey, not bad. Not bad.
And it applies to today because there are still a lot of blacks and whites who preach that. Jesse Jackson did, and also Martin Luther King. Nonviolent means to get it. Eventually, you're going to overcome, and there's a lot of whites who feel the same way. So my tribute to Sly, who gave me a lot of good. I had some good dance moves back then, Peter.
I don't believe it.
Now.
I don't believe it.
But God bless him. May he rest in peace. Anything to add to the?
My tribute is to me. In case you're wondering,
yes,
this was my novel Balkan Caesar that published about 10 years ago. It didn't become a bestseller, but we had a lot of fun writing it, and some admirers made it.
Yes, I read it. It's a very good book. Yeah, who's the tyrant?
Enver Hoxha was the the Caesar of the Balkans.
Yes, so fantastic. All right, so we'll have to look forward to the short sleeve column. And anything else on your plate this week?
Yeah, I'm going home to launder some money because before I came here, I threw everything in the laundry, and unfortunately, I threw my wallet in too, and everything came out wet. The credit cards was okay because they're plastic, but the money is all wet. So I'm going to have to home and launder it, iron it.
Unbelievable. Okay. Well, until we see you next week, and enjoy things and follow news, but we'll see you next week with the Boston Bros Political Podcast. Have a good week.